Hello. It's been a while, been a couple months since I have last done another public uh, address, I guess. Um, it is Monday, currently, it is Monday, August 15th at 6:42 a.m. Again, for those of you concerned about the timing and everything, this is just a normal hour for me. I'm actually probably about to go to bed. Um, but this is just, again, my current schedule. So everything is fine. Everything's wonderful if you're concerned about that. Uh, where to begin? Um, I have a few things written down this time, rather than just in the past, as I have been things coming to me. But again, I'm trying to highlight that the experience of how things just come to each of us and everything, and that's how the funk guides us and each other, and the split of, again, free will and predeterminism. Again, as I talked about in my last video about Caravagna, once we reach that frame of Caravagna within reality, what do we choose within that moment? And also how all the moments around it and within that moment influences the next moment. The few things that I have written down first before us, something that okay, no, let's kind of go out of order. Some things that I was going to make videos earlier on this and haven't, and am now going to put in there. A couple more words and terms that have come to me in this, the way the funk, again, flows, is something called, so I'm sure each of us, not all of us though, some of us will be understanding of the concept of yin and yang, and how the harmony of those two separate things bring balance to the entire whole. But yin and yang are both, even though they are individual separates, they are still the same in the balance. They are still equals in this balance. And so they're interchangeable and interplaceable. Yin and yang, even though they color it white and black, each one is black or white, or could be the other side, black or white. They're both gray, essentially. They have to be named two different things in order to understand that harmony. And so conceptually and philosophically, what came to me, and I describe it in my treatise, and I'll describe it to you now, we're all familiar with good energy or bad vibes or bad energy, right? And so conceptually, what I'm trying to describe to you now is something called Ouimission. And I call it Ouimission because it starts with the O, which again, it symbolizes the yin and yang. And also we, as in OUI, as in yes. So it's kind of a metaphysical yes and. And so when you're talking about like quantum influence, and I've described like how I believe there is a field of influence quantumly. Ouimission is essentially the yes and of that influence. And so when it comes to like good vibes or bad vibes, or when you're essentially, if I had to give an example, when you're like, oh, I'm sending you good vibes, you're emitting into their, towards them. You're sending good vibes or influence towards them. So you're emitting, and that goes beyond humanism, of sending good vibes and everything. It goes, again, metaphysically, to where any good influence that causes any effect to happen, so like a Ouimission of the metaphysical would be like, um, let's just argue evolution. So like, the Ouimission of evolution is allowing that to happen. You're yes-anding the evolution to progress, and that's subjective in this progression of Ouimission, and so comes the opposite of Ouimission, which is called Nomission, which is essentially a canceled out, a bad vibe, or a cancellation of progression, something that is halting the funk, or anything metaphysically, um, if that makes sense conceptually. And so both of those are two sides of the same. So you have Ouimission, which is causing things to happen. Then you have Nomission, which is balancing that out or causing things to not happen. Or again, a no but, as you would say in improv or in communication, or again, metaphysically. And so they're two sides of the same coin. And this coin is called Qimission, or what I call Qimission, Qimission. And Qi goes into Chinese proverbs of Qi is essentially the breath of life. And so again, what I would call funk, just like what we exist within. And so you have these Ouimissions and Nomissions, basically, when they even out, you have the Qimission. That's kind of the balance of the things, is just when things are neutral or harmonics, you are just at Qimission. And that's just the flow of life, is that Qi. Or as some would say, the Tao. Or I think the right word in Tao is Pu, or the unconscious. It might just be the Tao, just the flow of the universe in harmony. And so that is what Qimission is, once you reach that state of, and that there's no yes-anding needing to happen or no butting. It's just the way that things are going. And then you have the yes-ands and no buts in that harmony of the Qimission. So now that we understand those concepts, or at least I have, hopefully you understand them to a degree, there is another word that came to me in the description of when you feel, and I guess I'll just tell you the word. The word is Malar Regnession, and it's a word that I basically just put together using the word allure. So the draw towards something, and then magnetism, and so it's basically like being called into something. Like if you're feeling Malar Regnession, when you have that funk feeling of just like, I should be doing something, or I should be going somewhere, or I should be calling someone or doing something. It's just that internal funk feeling that kind of guides you. You have Malar Regnession towards a moment. Aristotle would have described this as Entelechy, Entelechy. I don't know how to pronounce it. I guess Entelechy, which means to realize potential, or to come into potential. Like whatever drives you into the direction of how you realize a moment, to make a moment happen. And so if I had to use a description of Malar Regnession, I'm kind of drawing a blank, but essentially what's coming to me is, again, that concept of like, when let's say you're sitting at home and you're like, man, I should go to that, do this social event. People are calling me out to go do a social event. And you have that Malar Regnession moment of like, maybe I should go here. Or you have a Malar Regnession saying, I should stay home. And so they could be combating each other, but eventually you're going to make the decision to do one of these things, and in the end it's going to be like you're going to have that moment of like, I'm glad I did this, or you might have that moment of like, I wish I had done that. And so the Malar Regnession would have been the first moment that said that, like, if you had gone and done this moment, you wouldn't be like, I wish I had gone and done this, or a regret, I guess. And so Malar Regnession is guiding you into these moments, and when you learn how to kind of take them and accept them, then Caravania flows more in a Ouimission than a Nomission. And so that Qimission, again, the Qimission will always be, but it's the debate of that Ouimission and Nomission. And so Malar Regnession or Entelechy guides us into each of these moments. And it's that funk feeling that we just have, or some of us have. I would actually, I would argue all of us have it. It's just the way that each of us connect to it. So it's like, could you, again, when we go into metaphysics, could you say that, like, this bottle has Malar Regnession? Do the atoms inside have Malar Regnession towards what? Because there are who knows how many molecules of atoms inside this thing, and they're all moving around at an exponential moment, causing each other Ouimissions and Nomissions to arrive at this Qimission of this bottle along the path of existence. And so what is the Malluregnetic moment to this bottle? I guess it's to be right here in this video. Now that we're talking about it and describing it, it's moments called to this moment right here in Caravania. And now we can all experience that moment of that lesson, because it was Malluregneted, or the Entelechy helped us realize the potential of this explanation and of this bottle. And the atoms within it and within us and without us reach this whole thing. I hope that makes sense conceptually. Because it's really exciting. These are really exciting things that all this study has led me to reach to you. And so I'm glad to share it with you. And again, the hopes is like, that I'd really like to highlight is all the things that I've learned, all the things that you see in my thesis and in my treatise, they could be absolutely wrong. I could be absolutely wrong with all the things that I'm telling you right now. And that's kind of the hopes, because failure is a form of success. And so if any of this is proven wrong, then the hopes is to like be what is next, what is right. And so if I or we don't highlight these moments and learn and form them into what the real thing is, like what is the truth, the epistemological truth of knowledge, then we won't reach that. And so this is me throwing out the foundations, essentially, or building upon what was foundations. And so this is me adding to the foundations, and then we're just trying to reconstruct that. And if we continue to reconstruct and polish these foundations, we will find what is right and what is wrong. And then we know these things, and how do we continue along the path. So that's those two things kind of out of the way. Some things that I kind of just want to, I guess, talk on. Something I've been experiencing, and I'm always experiencing this, is the attempt to stay humble and being humble. And so let's say for this moment right here, like, in any event, or like, let's say that the best way that I can describe it is something that I said earlier today when talking with my comedy sports cast, is essentially that, like, I am metaphorically like a horn, right? I'm playing this sound and making these sounds, and I could be like making any sound, whether whatever volume, whatever energy, If it's just me making these sounds, then I'm just a horn blowing in the wind. And that's either right or wrong or whatever. It's just jazz, kind of just flowing. But you need the band. Once you become a horn, not become a horn, I am an instrument, right? And so when you put a group of instruments together, or the world, the universe, or your community, you become a band. And so once you are in this band, it's important to learn how to harmonize and to be with each other in this band. And what humbleness is essentially is recognizing when to solo and how to solo uh, within your in this ensemble, and how to make it all flow together. Um, because it's the band that like it's the one band, one sound, like they say in drumline. And so it's the band that brings things together and makes the solo even better, because it's the entire group ensemble experience that makes it resonate. And someone, George Brito, on one of my podcasts, really put it to home when one of my questions I like to ask is, "What is beauty to you?" And he really hit it hard when he said resonation, things that resonate with each of us. And so just that, uh, what, what what makes a horn even better than just being a horn is when it can resonate with an entire band or an entire sound. And the band helps keep everything in balance. Because if you're just a horn or just any instrument by yourself, you can go to any degree. Like you can, and the way that I described it is like, I understand that sometimes me personally, as an instrument or a horn, my energy can be very high and very, and even though I'm grooving, uh, and you kind of experiencing it now, even though I'm in a groove, this groove can be deafening to some people or not the right sound. And so it could be off-putting to some. And so the band is what keeps that in harmony and in balance. And now that I am speaking to you as an instrument, you are my band, keeping me in harmony. And so I, as an instrument, am reaching out to you, the band, and polishing this information and making the the piece that we are composing even better. In repolishing it, because it's a piece that is always in process. And even though, again, my treatise is like what it is now, it's always in process and evolving, because I'm reaching out for the band's ideas, not just being a horn tooting in the wind. Um, Again, conceptually, I hope that makes sense. Um, the next thing I've written is being the light that you are, and why others will try to put you out, and the importance of that balance. And it's just as I kind of described with the sound. Uh, like, let's say you are a light, right, or a sound. Sometimes you become so bright that others who don't like that, or have been, let's use light as an example in the metaphor. Like, let's say um, your light becomes so bright that those who are in the darkness or have a different light um, want to put that light out, right? Because it may be harmful to them. It might be like, oh, that's a little too bright, so you need to dim down. Um, and some of us will be like, no, don't try to put out my light or try to dim my light. And I think that's where it kind of differs. Is like, never let someone put out your light, but recognize when you do need to dim your light so that you don't hurt others. Even though, again, your light is so important that you need to shine, sometimes it is so bright uh, that it turns other people away. And it's important to know that balance, and because you're a human, so you're conscious of that. A star, you know, isn't conscious of that. So a star or a fire will burn and just consume everything, right? Until it's put out by other factors. And so let's say that, like, metaphorically, you as a fire, you need to know when to uh, not burn others. And it's you still want to burn bright. You don't want to be put out. But again, you as a conscious fire need to know your limits so that others don't put you out, uh, because you're burning out of control. And so again, uh, it's good to know that balance. Um, it's always so funny just sharing these ideas uh, in a video, because I mean, again, I'm just talking to myself, uh, and also I'm sure some of you are listening, and if not, but like really, this is kind of just to save these ideas. Because I haven't written some of these concepts into my treatise, especially what I'm about to get into in these next few clips. And so I was like, I don't know where I'm going to put them yet, but uh, and so I felt that like it would be best to really put them in video first, because these videos are kind of an introduction to the thesis, so that they make more sense. So you can either do my treatise and then these videos, or these videos and then the treatise, in any order. And so they help make each other make sense, if one's not able to convey um, a good understanding when you're going through this information. It's just very silly. I need some water. So I hope you're following, or at least attempting to, up to this moment. One thing I have in here, and again, I haven't expanded into this concept yet. It just kind of came to me earlier. Is the idea of cutting your hair, uh, and the metaphor for vanity. And so, like in several religions, I know in at least Christianity and in um, Islam, essentially, and maybe even I think Judaism, they all have foundations of you shouldn't cut the tipples of your beard, or trim your hair. Um, but I think that, like, now that we're expanding into these territories, I think that comes from vanity. Um, you should you should every once in a while cut your hair, trim yourself. You should change. You should be open to these changes as a way to humble yourself and check yourself. Um, so, like, again, for the metaphorical example I could give is like, if your hair gets too long, right, it's going to kind of get in the way, or um, maybe even be an inconvenience, right? And so if you're not keeping that in check, like uh, let's say you let your hair grow so long that you can no longer see what's going on underneath, and let's say that you have like a cancer on your head or something like that, because you were vain and letting your hair grow too long, um, because uh, I don't know how, uh, again, in vanity, it's like it's because of image, right? You're trying to showcase this image, and so that's why you're showcasing this long hair in a selfish vanity. Um, and so if you don't cut that hair every once in a while and see what's underneath and keep yourself that vanity in check, then you don't see that cancer. that's growing on your head. And I think that showcases like where we are with many religions and stuff in that vanity, because they're like, don't ever change, don't ever change, and just continue to let this grow. Because if you just never change and let it grow, then so will cancers grow within that, and then you won't know, and then that cancer will pollute the body. So just something to think about. So cut your hair every once in a while, metaphorically and physically. Change your image and change your outlook on that vanity. Humble yourself. Let me close my notes. The next thing I have here is I have, again, it's something else I haven't expanded upon, but I have kind of talked about, is being remembered in others' lives or dreams and stuff. And so, like, have you ever? It's such a joyous feeling when someone is like, and I can't say joyous, but it is this feeling, at least for me, when someone comes to you and they're like, "Hey, you were in my dream," and you just have that intrigue of like, "I was in your dream," like, go on. What was it about? Like it could either be good or bad, but it's just like, wow, someone remembered you, and that is kind of the goal of the immortality project that we each are striving for. And I'm blanking on the author who coined that, within philosophy, essentially, that we're all trying to immortalize ourselves. And so just that concept of like, it's nice to be remembered, and it's nice to share with each other when you remember someone. Just that. And again, something I haven't expanded into, but wanted to get out there. And now we've expanded upon that. The next few things that I have, I actually saved as voice memos. And so let's listen to myself in the past and what I had to say, and then we can, I guess, commentate on the things that I said. So the first one is about kind of I'll just let you listen to it. It's titled Hand Metaphor. And let's see if it's on.
Okay, so I was talking to my brother. This is just anyone listening besides myself. I'm using this for notes. I was discussing church, essentially, as a metaphor, being the fist of the body. And so, like, if church is the fist of the body, you can't just stay within the fist of the body, because the rest of the body is a part of the church, right? So the whole body is really church, and that's what you're building up to be. And then even outside of the body, like even beyond the body, if church were ever to encapsulate the whole body, even though it exists, its foundations were in the fist, it's still all of it, right? And so expanding the metaphor, let's say that, like, when someone tells you you need to go to church, you need to find God, that's like as if, let's say you lived in Texas, right? And you're like, and you love Texas, you love your home state, you love being where you want, and you support your home state. But let's say someone from out of state, Michigan, comes, not even comes, you're just talking to them. You're like, you need to go to Texas. You need to see what Texas is about. They do and do not need to go to Texas. They live in Michigan. They're still a part of the body of the United States and a part of the globe and a part of the universe. They don't need to visit Texas, but if they ever do, Texas is there for them to visit, and it's going to welcome them or not, but though God would be welcoming, or the funk would be welcoming. I'm also eating while doing this, but that's basically my whole where my thought is going, and I wanted to save that metaphor for later, further thought. Okay, bye.
Yeah, and so again, to re-highlight what I'm trying to mention and talk about is like the idea of holons and the hierarchy. So I think I've described it in the past, and if not, to for those listening who aren't aware, a holon is the philosophical concept of something that is a whole within itself, but a part of something greater. And so, to draw an example, let's say this circle right there is a holon, right? But to make it a better image, now it's a holon because it's something a whole within itself, but it's a part of something greater. And then what is this a holon to but this paper right here? And what is this post-it note a holon to but this environment that is within? And what's this environment? It's the galaxy. And then the galaxy is a holon, again, what I call funk. And then if anything, we discover what that funk is, then that's still within something, which is funk. And it goes the opposite way with atoms and matter and electrons, neutrons, quarks, and then we don't know. And so again, that's funk, holons, and then whatever exists within that. And it's infinite on both sides. They keep going forever. And so if church, or what religions call church, right, is essentially what, and I am going to dive into Christianity here because this is kind of where I was raised. Church isn't just something that exists within four walls. Church doesn't stop there. And so let's say you build a church, right? It's beyond these walls. It's the community that you're building. And so if the church just stops within these four walls, like, or your fist, and it excludes what's happening within the body, then your fist is just corrupt. It's not. It's a church that's trying to silence the entire body. It's got to communicate with the entire body. And again, using the Texas metaphor, Texas and Michigan are a part of the United States, and if they don't communicate with each other or exclude each other using borders like they kind of do already, then like why would anyone want to visit it? And so you're excluding each other rather than welcome each other. Even though you can build these borders or these four walls of this church, but again, the church is the entire body or the beyond. The entirety of the holon and the holarchy would be church, non-religiously, metaphysically is what I mean. And I'm not saying that like any religion is right. This is just metaphysics and semantics. Trying to explain funk, right? So there's that. Hopefully I explained that well. I'm still working on, I'll still polish that and put that in my treatise and work on that more. This next one is called Gifts and Challenges.
Hello, me again. Another mental note. Something that has really been popping up, and now I'm finally, again, collecting the observation of it, and now that I'm aware, I keep seeing it popping up, and just putting it all together. It seems that autism is a gift.
Or neurodivergence.
I'm wording this badly. It's much better in my head, again, because who knows, maybe I am. autistic.
Who knows?
But essentially, when we look through history and we look through human development at people, it seems many philosophers and many people who did great things that advanced our society were autistic or had Asperger's. For example, Socrates could have been autistic or had Asperger's. Einstein was possibly known to have Asperger's.
Google it.
And you can just go down the list and really see the signs in all these people and everything. And it seems that the way that I'm now comprehending it is, in the past we have called these people gifted people or mentally challenged, but the gift, metaphorically and realistically, is that it changes up how we interact with reality. It's the spark that, if again, philosophically, if everything were the same, I can't remember which philosopher talked about it, but if everything were the same, you just did everything the same, it would get boring. You would want that one small thing to change. And then eventually that one small thing wouldn't be enough. So you'd add another thing, and you would add another thing, and you'd add another thing. And so these gifts, these challenges are challenges. They are life challenges. They are not the ones who are challenged. They are challenged, but it is society who is challenged by these gifts. How do we interact and deal with these gifts? If you get what I'm saying, it's like, it's as if describing a gift in a video game is like a challenge. You are gifted a challenge, and when you complete that challenge, you are given another form of gift.
Or quest.
Sometimes, or not. Sometimes it's just something you have to do, and you don't get a gift, even though you were gifted with the situation or the challenge, which is fascinating. It's metaphorically fascinating, and I think that is, now that that's all making sense, I think that we're seeing that here in society. We're seeing that on a huge rise because it's now, we're aware of it. Whereas in the past it was dismissed,
and we're accepting, or again, gifts.
They were set aside because it was going against the grain. It was changing what they didn't want. All the past of supremacy.
It was too challenging.
Things that were in charge. And these gifts were challenging those systems. Mm-hmm. And so really we need to accept those challenges and implement them into our systems. And that makes them better.
Yeah.
And so that's basically the all-encompassing thought of this statement, which is really cool and fascinating. I can't wait to expand more upon it and write more about it. Thanks for listening. If you are not me, and if you are me, have fun writing this all down. All right, love you, bye.
So yeah, if that makes sense, and not just neurodivergency or autism or anything, literally any concept, like someone being blind or someone being deaf or any handy capability or anything. These are just quests that we all need to go on in life and take them on because they are gifts. They're gifts to us because, again, using the game metaphor, if you didn't have any quests within a game and it was just open world of nothing, you'd get bored of it eventually. Let's use Minecraft as an example. Like, Minecraft is kind of just an open world sandbox that at first didn't have quests and games. And so it's just kind of building Legos and stuff. But it continued to add on things, and it still is over a decade later because you want more. You want more change. You want more gifts and challenges. And conceptually with that philosophical, again, I can't remember which philosopher talked about that, but like, let's say you were in control of reality and you just like everything was everything was just the way you want it to be, right? Literally everything was just given to you or how you controlled it. Eventually, you would want something outside of your power to make a change because you would get so bored with everything just being your way that you would want at least one thing to be different. And that is the gift. That's the gift, the quest. And then eventually that you could become accustomed to that one thing now that you're within this reality. And so then you're like, oh, I'm going to add something else beyond my control, something that I can interact with, another quest. And so these quests just continue to add up. And so these challenges in these anything again, I use neurodivergency, but again, it's like it's literally anything that happens with anyone beyond humans even. And so that leads back to the word parability. That kind of started all of this for me. That like it was that word that was highlighted the night that I had that meditational moment of like, okay, I'm gonna start writing all this down. I'm gonna start. Parability was the word that came to me, and so it's like that is the quest of parability. That's I think that is fascinating, and that's the direction we're heading in, and I think that's why like we're seeing so many more people being accepting of like a world of ADHD, which is neurodivergency. You are on the spectrum, or Asperger's or autism. We're seeing more people who have these things, and if we don't become accustomed to it, then you make it even more challenging. You make the challenge even more challenging. You're going against the grain. So once you start to work with these challenges and take them on, you complete the quests and you get stronger and you level up in the video game. And then eventually, once you have reached parability, you seek more things. You seek more challenges and quests, or you just kind of exist within the game. You know, like you just you can be fine with where you're at. That concept. Okay, moving on. This next one is called Privilege Royalties.
So, I'm going to start off with where the thought came from and where it's going. So, I have been paying my podcast guests $15 an hour for 2 hours. So, $30 for a total of 2 hours. Let's say that I start making more money because of my success. Not just based on them, but like anything I do, since they were still a part of it. Let's say that in the future, I'm able to, now that if I'm ever making much more money, like a significant more amount of money, like, and I'm able to pay future guests $50 an hour, right? I should still take the profits I'm making and pay reparations to the people in the past who I only paid $30. I should still give them $20 more. I should reach back out and give them the $20 to where everyone is making $50 overall because they did the same amount of work. It's a different time and space, but still they were a part of holding the foundations of the entire creative project. And so I think a way that we could help each other fix financial security in society is by paying royalties no matter where you work. If that company continues, you should still be getting compensated in the future if they start paying more somehow, or by getting a part, like stock or anything. Like, you should still get that, even if you're not working at that company anymore, no longer. You should still, were a part of it in building it, what it is, and how it's lasting. And so you should be part of that. Even if, like, you fuck up, well, I guess there would be, of course, like, let's say you really fuck up and mess up, then yeah, you could lose those privileges. But if you were a part of it, you should still, again, right there, the word privilege, you should still be a part of the privilege. If you helped build it, and if it's there, then yeah, you should be a part of it. And that is the thought of the moment. Thanks for listening. Love you.
Yeah. So if that makes sense, like, let's say you helped build a company. Let's just call this company X, right? Like, let's say you were the first members of X, and y'all were only making 10 an hour, or not even like that. You know, like, let's say you're making 10 an hour or whatever, and then as X goes on throughout time, eventually X is now a multi-million-dollar company and everything, and they're paying their corporate employees, or like the CEO is making millions in dollars and right and stuff, based off of what the founding people did, right? Because they're only at that level now. The founding people are the ones who got it to where it's at, and so that CEO or the X now should be reaching back and saying, "Hey, thanks, foundations. Here is part of the growth that you helped make us." And so that's where I think we should go back with slavery and reparations, because again, like, we forced those people to build our nation on their backs, and that's where reparations come in. And if America is making profits off of what we're doing these days, it's because of that. It's because of those people in the past who got us where we are today. And so we should absolutely be paying reparations to that and everything. And that's what I would do as president of the United States. Which, segueing into that, a lot of this is foundation for what I want to do in the future, and run for president of the United States in 2028. Once I'm 35 and old enough to do so in 2028, that's what I would love to do. And so I have 6 years to do that. And so now I'm seeking additional help of, like, how does the globe, what can I do to be a better leader once I reach that state? Because I want to be the best leader. I don't want to be a boss. I want to be a leader, leading humanity as a species into the next step. I think I talked about it in one of the previous episodes, but if not, like, as Nietzsche described it, the overman. What comes next in humanity? So, like, using the example again, if we as humans today are to what was the Neanderthals, or wherever Neanderthals came from. So if you have Neanderthals here, and then humanity right here in the present, what do we become? What is this in the future? So wherever this was, then us now, what will humans be? And so I'm trying to help us flow into that. I'm trying to remit us into that future, right? And so these next 6 years is me as a person trying to find out what can I and what can we together do best to progress the future and everything. And so, because if no one does, then no one will. And we see the state that we are in, and how corrupt our now government is. Even though it's not all corrupt, there's still some change in there that's trying, but again, it's working against the system. And so, like, how do we fix that as a humanity and get out of it? It's an uphill struggle. It's a lot of Nomission. And so, how do we continue remitting until we either balance out or are more positively remitting than nomitting? And so, yeah, that's a part of that. So hopefully you vote for me in 2028, or even further. I don't really expect to get the presidential bid or nomination in 2028 because I think the society maybe not be ready for it yet. But I'm not going to give up. That doesn't stop there. I'm going to continue honing myself and each other until perhaps we're ready for it. And we'll see what happens within that. Next up is something called Taming the Beast. So let's listen to that.
So, another thought along the lines of when it comes to people who are unable to communicate, or people with sociopaths or psychopaths or anything. Let's use the metaphor as a beast. If you have a beast, right, it is because it was not raised within the metaphorical village. Because it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a whole village to shape what should be a being. And if the village does not take care of a child or a being, then it is left to become a beast. And it will destroy the village. And beasts will make their own villages. And so you must take in the beasts, or try to care for the beasts. And then the beasts will learn to, be better beasts, be a part of things, learn to live together. What's coming to my head right now is kind of like zoo animals, or let's consider Zootopia, the film, like a lion living in harmony with a rabbit, or humans living in harmony with wolves or lions. We can do these things, and the better we get at doing them, the better that these creatures become accustomed to each other, and acclimated. And the beast, because again, the villages are helping raise the beast, and then the beast becomes the word for being able to be kept as a pet. I'm blanking on that right now, but in the future I will have that, because you can look up that information. But you know what I'm talking about. If you're listening, I'm sure you get the concept. And so again, it's just that point of like,
yep,
when we're as a society, when we're trying to change things and make things better, we have to learn to communicate with each other. And that involves, again, communicating with beasts and learning to be with the beast and how to live with the beasts. And then so that we don't create further beasts, even though there will be in some degrees, and there always will be, because again, they are gifts.
They're the gifts.
And they are challenges in our quests of life and reality. We, as the village, have to work with the beast and cultivate, I believe is the word. Another thing.
Domesticate.
And so that we have to tame the beast together. And if we don't, again, the beast will destroy the village, because it will. It feels that it's the enemy, because it was shoved out of the village, or it was kept out of the village. And if it's kept out of the village, then yeah, it's tribalism. It's one group taking over another. And so we as humans know better than that, and we know how to react with that. And yes, things will go wrong in the scientific discovery of how we interact with each other and how we interact with beasts and everything, but that's the gift of challenges. So yeah, thanks for listening again. Love you. Bye.
So yeah, we got to tame the beast, y'all. We got to tame the beasts and then prepare for the next beasts, the next gifts and challenges. We can even call them beasts, like it's all semantics. It's the things that are just different than the normal, the gifts and challenges. And it takes the whole village to be there. Using the metaphor, because it's like, again, let's use the example of sociopaths and psychopaths. It's often because they're not socialized that they have this mental disconnect, and they become raised in the wild. They become wild beasts, and then by then it's almost too late, because they come back to destroy the village that condemned them, that put them out into the wild, that made them these wild beasts. And so if we're without a village, or if a beast is without a village, it becomes a beast. And so we need our villages to be better. We need to be there for everyone and everything. And that's where I know some people hate the word, but socialism comes into play right there. Like, if we're not being social creatures and helping each other as a village raise the village up, and we're too busy making profit off each other, or you're too busy working to take care of the child, and you're not there for the child to take care of the child, or any of the village is not there to take care of the child, it becomes a beast. Because it doesn't know any better. It's raised in the wild. And then again, it will destroy the village. So I hope all of this makes sense. That's really all of the things that I have to say right now. And so I should be getting to bed. I do have some things to do today. Oh, actually, no, I have some things to do tomorrow. So I'll probably spend some time putting all of this into my treatise before going to bed, and over the next few days. But really, I wanted to encapsulate everything here and share it with you and anyone listening, or me in the future, or you in the future. Which, hello, by the way, thanks for being here, for anyone listening. And I love you. And y'all take care. And be there for each other. Be the village raising each other. Learn to coexist with the beast, and how to make the beast better. Accept the challenges, accept these gifts, and just be there for each other. Because again, that's kind of so far what I have gathered to be the meaning of life and existence, is to just be there, be present. And so I very much look forward to see what each and every moment brings for all of us. And I love you, and I'll see y'all in the present and in the future. All right, love you.